retirement spending strategies that maybe could change our life a little bit. As the year's winding down, let's look at some things to think about for the new year here on Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts. Welcome into Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts with CPA and personal financial specialist Phil Putney. Now let's get rolling with today's show. Hey everybody, welcome into the podcast. Thanks for hanging out with Phil and I. Phil, we are at the end of the year, bud.
2024 is almost behind us. So.
Going bye-bye. So
Yep.
Another year down. Hopefully you've had a great year, and hopefully folks have learned some stuff here with us on the podcast this year. We certainly hope so. We try to provide, useful nuggets of information along with some entertainment along the way. So hopefully people have had a good time, and always appreciate your insights. So hopefully you had a good year as well, my friend.
It's been good.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about the new year. Because it's on us, right?
It is.
So, are you a resolution kind of person? I know we're not there yet. We're not into the new year yet. But are you one of those?
Not a hard resolution of I'm going to do this. Is just some goals, long-term goals, But not a I'm going to lose 10 pounds this year or something like that.
Well, now see, I'm normally not one, but last year, as we talked about earlier in the year, I did do it, and I lost 25 pounds. So, but I didn't make it a resolution. I made it more of a written goal, right? So I thought that was maybe a better way.
I think the resolution is goals are one of those funny things. It's writing it down on paper that's nothing. Here's the goal. What's the plan? How are you going to get there? It's just like retirement, same thing. It's like, I'm going to retire in 2 years. Okay, that's great. How's that going to work?
How are we going to do that? Right.
You figured it out. Where are you going to pull your money? There's a lot of factors that go into that. So,
well, let's talk a little bit about that today. So spending with confidence, surprising challenges, lots of different things come up. So many people have trouble spending with confidence. So I guess we'll kind of start there with the retirement thing. There's two major gear shifts to the retirement world, right? From what I've learned in my 10 years of having conversations, it's you get to the doorstep of retirement and it's, wow, this is completely like, I haven't really thought about who I am once I retire. And also the second one being, I don't know if I don't feel safe spending the money I've been saving for the last 35 years or whatever, right? So how do you deal with that?
I mean, it is definitely a mind shift for most people because, you've been saving and putting money away for 20 years or more, right?
Sure.
And it's one of those things you've always been told, don't touch the money. You never want to take the IRA, the 401k money, and there's IRS has penalties if you take it out early, prior to 59 and a half, there's penalties to take it. So there's all these, we've been trained of these guardrails to say, don't do it, roadblocks, and all of a sudden
it's a massive shift.
You're in retirement. It's like, okay, well, turn the faucet on, let's go. And a lot of clients are like, well, wait a minute. But I see the balance going down. It's like, that's what it's supposed to do. That's what it's there for.
Right. You've been building it to this point, right?
What was the purpose of saving it for? Are you, wanting to give it to the kids? And that's always the funny thing to me. And I understand it's a mind shift and it's hard for clients to work through it. But then that's part of our job, as we work with them and
provide the confidence.
Right. And one of the discussions with the client up front is, what is your goal for an inheritance? Do you want to leave anything as a legacy to the kids?
Yeah.
And 99% of the time, clients say, no, whatever's left. If there's something left, great.
Well, humans have guilt, right? I mean, we carry a lot of guilt. So we either have guilt over spending it because we maybe are not leaving anything for the kids, or we just have guilt over spending it because I worked so hard to save it and I just don't want to see it go down. I mean, there's a million things, but it's the point. Like, it is the prize. Like, you've been saving this so that you can go do all the things with your honey bunny that you wanted to do, right?
Yeah. And that's part of our process and should be part of the financial advisor you work with, their process to help you kind of get over that hurdle and be more confident and comfortable spending.
It's okay to spend, right?
But I mean, at the end of the day, some people just can't do it. I mean, I've got one client I'm thinking of specifically that we've been working together for 7-8 years now. And the husband retired like 2 years after we started working together. That was the plan. And the wife was going to retire around the same time, but she loves her job. And we're now 5 years later than that, and she's still working, and it's, I mean, at this point, it's almost the joke each year of, cause we talk and, I'm going to retire next year. It's it. And then, well, no, I've decided, I think it's going to be one more year,
Is it because she loves the job or is it because she's a little afraid?
Well, it's, I think she loves the job. She's just one of those persons that I don't know if she loves the job necessarily, but she doesn't know what to do with her time. And that, to your point, that's kind of the other thing. I always say
That's a
you've
big
got
piece.
to
Yeah.
understand what you're going to retire to, right? You're
Yeah.
retiring from something. What are you going to do? And I don't think she's quite figured that out yet because she has purpose in the job. And in fact, we just had the discussion and she's like, well, I don't know what they're going to do, when I'm not there. Cause I'm the glue that holds these, pieces together from the different departments.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
that's not your problem though. I understand. And that's great that you have that concern, but
Right, right.
you
Carrying and
know,
all that stuff. But do you
yes,
want to go do the thing? And that's an interesting conversation too from a couple because,
well,
your relationship you could have the other partner. Now, I don't know what he's saying, but he could certainly be sitting there saying, please retire. I want to go do some stuff.
well, that's,
Or is he doing stuff without her?
and that's actually part of the discussion that came up this time. It's like, he's been retired 5 years, and there's only so many projects and honeydew lists and things around the house that you can do.
Right, right. I can
He,
only build so many
he's really
birdhouses.
big
Right,
into gardening, and he's part of the garden club, and so he's got a lot of other activities, but he wants to
sure.
do some things, some travel and different things, and
Right.
she can't do it because she's working. And she works even
Yeah.
when she's not at work, right? So she's off she was just saying, oh, yeah, I've got all this PTO time. I've got to, take off between now and the end of the year or that I'm going to lose it. But yet I'm opening up emails and doing all this work anyways. It's like, well,
Well,
but
and
yeah,
we've
so
talked about
it's
that. People
starting
get
to
wrapped
cause
up in
some
their identity.
stress in their relationship,
Yeah.
and they were just talking about he wants to go somewhere. She's like, well, why don't you go with our daughter? Because they've got a daughter that's not married yet. And he's like, I don't want to go with her. I mean, I
I
love
want
our
to go with
daughter. Why don't I
you.
go with you?
Right,
So
right.
yeah, it can be
Well,
a stressful time. So
yeah, no, it's a mental hurdle
yes.
dealing with that, and it's funny because you just answered my next two questions, so I'll have
Oh,
to skip on down past. No, that's fine because I was going to say, why do we lack confidence? And we touched on that and giving you an example, and you gave a great example. But it's like you guys have to do the X's and the O's and the financial stuff, but you guys do have to kind of serve a little bit as
yes.
psychological guidance counselors or whatever, because it's like, look, here's the black and white. Because when it's confidence issue on the spending, you can say, look, here's the numbers. Let's project it out. Let me show you that if you spend this much each year, you're still going to be okay, X number of years down the road, blah, blah, blah. That helps. That's great. But if you don't have something like a passion project or something to retire to, it can kind of put you in this box that this lady's in.
Right. Yeah, and that's her scenario more than the spending because we've had that discussion every year along the way too. Part of our annual review is, well, yeah, this is where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunate or unfortunate, depending on how you look at it, is there's no way they're going to spend all this money. And she's like, well, that's good. Then our daughter is going to have that much more. And the husband's like, that's not what it's there for. This is our retirement. Which I mean,
No, that's
it's a balancing act between the
it
spouses.
is.
You've got to
And the spouses have to
They
work that
have to
out.
work that
Yeah.
out. That's
Yeah.
where, as an advisor now, I got to step back because that's not my role. I'm not a counselor.
Right, right,
We have the
right,
financial
right.
discussion. I help kind of bring both sides up, but then that's something you guys really have to work through and
Yeah.
understand both spouses, scenarios. So don't
Well,
just look at your personal scenario and say, I don't think we can do it. Consider your
right.
spouse too. So,
Consider your other
yep,
one. Yeah. Well, let's look at the other side just real quick,
sure.
and then we'll wrap up with I want you to give me at least like three ideas that people can maybe kind of think about or try to
Sure.
implement. But what about the opposite side? So it's like, okay, the fear is I'm afraid to spend it. What about the person who's like, woohoo, I'm in retirement,
Yeah.
let's go, and they're just dropping, they're dropping buckets of money, and it's like, well, wait a minute, let's not go too crazy.
And I've got clients that have done that too, who are still doing that. When we run a financial plan, we always have what I call the guardrail, right? So here's the spending, and our spending that we recommend, at least based on the discussion, is never at the guardrail. Guardrail is, I call it, you're bumping against that guardrail all the way through retirement. So the only way that's going to work is if things go absolutely perfect all the way through. So for this client, they've had some really good years early on, so it's been okay. And we've had that discussion of, yeah, right now it still looks okay. You've got to be very careful, but we're not, I would say, in the scenario of overspending now where you're going to be in trouble in 5 years. But you've got to keep keep this on track. Let's make sure we're not overspending. What's the plan to start reducing this? And they're at that point now where now they both have Social Security. Now they're starting to ramp down spending a little bit. Yeah, they did the first 5 years, a lot of travel. And so I think every client's a little different, and it's always that balance between the two. And again, that's, as a financial advisor, part of our role. I always tell clients, look, my role isn't to, I don't have a lock on the money, right? It's your money. You call me up and say you want $10,000. Where do you want to send it, right? We've got the bank account set up. It's going to go to the account. If I think we're getting off track, off plan, I'm going to let you know. And I mean, and I've never had this happen, but if I have a client that's heading down that path and they're not listening to me, I'll probably at some point just disengage and say, you know what, I just don't think this is going to work. Because I don't want to be there when everything crashes and burns and now they're like, oh, I'm out of money. What do I do?
The Tax Smart Retiree is your comprehensive guide to mastering tax efficiency for a flourishing retirement. You will find indispensable advice and actionable strategies designed to enhance tax savings, maximize Social Security benefits, protect against market volatility, and develop a customized retirement plan. To get your free ebook, click the link in the show notes of today's episode and download your copy of the Tax Smart Retiree right now.
Well, think about the couple you talked about earlier leaving to the daughter.
Right.
If it was the opposite side and it's getting all blown and they're not listening to the advice, she's calling you going, what kind of terrible advice are you giving my parents? Right? They're going to be broke. And it's like that. I've been trying, and I know advisors document all their stuff so that way you can say, look, I tried to get you back on the path. You're not willing to do so. So maybe you need to be working with somebody different.
It's like going to a doctor. If you go to a doctor for your checkup and he keeps telling you, yeah, you need to do this, you need to do this, and you never do any of it. I mean, at some point you know what, I just think you need to find another doctor because obviously, we're
I'm
not
not getting through to you,
right?
or-
You don't trust me and believe what I'm saying or whatever the case is. So
Sure.
find
Yeah.
somebody
That's a
you're
good way of
comfortable
putting
with.
it. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
unfortunately, I've
Okay.
never got to that point.
Well, that's good. That's great. Well, let's finish off with 2, 3, 4, whatever you want to give me. But some spend again. The concept of this episode being not the overspender, but the person who's afraid or just having that guilt over actually using their retirement for the things that they saved it for. What's a couple of ideas that you might say? Hey, try doing this to see if that helps you.
I mean, I would say probably the first, the easiest one is set up just a regular monthly distribution. I mean, that's what we do with all our clients of, kind of like a paycheck. I mean, you're used to having a direct deposit into your bank account once a month or whatever it happens to be. Most clients, monthly. So let's figure out what that is and let's start there. And it's not like it's a fixed number, right? It's what is your number? Let's get it set up on the 1st, the 15th, whatever your date is. Set it up on a regular monthly reoccurring payment. And it takes some time, probably a year, maybe even 2 years to get settled into what retirement looks like for you. And you might have some larger expenses up front. Maybe you're going to, do that big retirement trip at the beginning of retirement as you, enter it to celebrate. And I mean, there's different things like that you have to factor in. But
yeah, if you're struggling, right, to your point, if your one item is to set up that consistent withdrawal of those incomes, but maybe you guys agree to like one big item a year or something. Maybe that's a way to get over the spending hump or whatever. Or maybe like a little fund, like you build all right, this is
that's another one.
like
Have
fund.
a fund set aside. That's that fun money, right? We'll have a lot of clients that'll, they've maybe been used to investing themselves in their 401k and they've got money in a brokerage account and they want to continue that process because that's kind of their fun money. That's fine. Keep that there. It's not going to affect your plan, whatever. You can lose all of it and it's not going to change retirement for you. That's your fun money. You can keep investing it, do what you want to do with it, and if you want to pay for the extra travel, things like that, well, it comes out of that, and we're good. So that way it's not quite as maybe restraining. And I think that's where a lot of clients get into retirement. They're thinking, oh, it's the B word comes up, right? Oh, I got a budget. Well, I've never lived on a budget. I can't budget. Well, you don't have to budget, right? It comes down to understanding your spending and then just making sure you're on track, and maybe it's that quote unquote reverse budget where, you figure out, okay, well, here's the absolute has to have, right? I mean, I got to pay the mortgage. I got to pay the utilities, all these are the essential expenses. And let's, make sure that that's coming in. We got that. And then the money beyond that, it's kind of, the free money, right? The fun money you can do whatever you want with. So you have a little bit more flexibility. We know we have to do this, but we can always spend a little bit more on these. And then if we do have some good years, maybe you can increase that side of it a little bit more, have a little bit more flexibility in there. So, yeah, so retirement doesn't have to be this constraint of, oh, you got to stick on a budget, right? Fixed income. I mean, there are fixed incomes, but it's part of that plan, making sure you have the plan to begin with, but then sticking to it along the way, checking in along the way. Are we still on track is the key. So,
Well, at the end of the day, right? If you're coming up on retirement, the mental, physical aspect of getting there, not physical, but psychological. That's what I meant to say.
yeah,
The mental and the psychological impact of what do I do with all my free time and what do I do with all this money that I've saved and I'm afraid to spend it. Hopefully, those are a couple little tips there at the end that kind of help you kind of get started with the spending. But working with your advisor as well and seeing it in black and white that it's okay to be able to spend this much money or whatever the case might be, that helps a lot of people as well. So just get a plan. Get a strategy, work with somebody so they can help you kind of get over that a little bit of guilt and enjoy yourself. That's what you've saved it. That's what you've worked your way towards. And for the young lady out there who isn't wanting to retire, go hang out with your husband. He wants to do stuff with you.
She promised this year, this is it. But next year in January, she's retiring. So, not this coming January, but January 26th. So we'll see.
Okay. All right. So make sure you hang out with him though. He wants to spend time with you, and that's sweet. So we'll see you next time here on Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts. We'll see you in the new year, actually. So we'll be back in the new year with some new episodes. That's right. Phil, have a great holiday. Enjoy time with the family and have a happy new year, everybody. Same to all of our listeners and viewers. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all that good jazz. Check the show notes for links to reach out to Phil if you need some help and get started today. And we'll see you next time here on Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts.
Phil?
Investment advisory services offered through AFS Wealth Management. The content of this program is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. Investments and/or investment strategies involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment strategy will achieve its objectives.